to take and complete that test.
I was going to ask you that.
They whipped my butt.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. But it was like going through that helped me so much in life that I can go through something like that. Then it's been, pretty much anything that come my way, I'm able to handle it.
Okay, Kempo Chronicles with you again for our very first spotlight interview of the year. Say what? And before we do drop me a quick like and comment down below. Let us know that we are making content like this that you enjoy so we can, of course, make more of it for you. Share the video, please share the video. That way it does help me out and helps us grow, and grow,
Are we learning yet?
And as usual, follow us on all of our various social media, here, wherever, so that way you can keep up to date on everything we've got planned for the channel, as well as getting all those nuggets of behind the scenes goodness. I promise it's well worth that. All right, so getting to it. Today we've got Master Diedra Cole, no, scratch that, Grandmaster Diedra Cole, who is a Kempo practitioner and has been studying under noteworthy names like, Sijo Steve Muhammad. You may have heard of him. Yep, that's right. We did do that interview just a few months back, and I'll leave that link over here. But do me a favor, check that out later, because right now, I promise you're going to want to get into what Master Diedra Cole has to say. She's got a vast martial arts history as a student, competitor, and of course, instructor. So we're going to talk about that, plus, she's also the author of this. It's called Glimpses of the Warrior Within. It's available now. I suggest you all grab a copy. We're going to talk about this and much, much more with this amazing lady. So let's get it. Not only is she a tournament winner, a member of the BKF, Black Karate Federation, Hall of Fame, as a matter of fact, but you also, just sidebar, helped me with a really great interview with your Sijo, Master Steve Muhammad. I really appreciate that. That was such a great talk. What a great man.
Isn't he just the best of the best of the best?
He is amazing. But you are Master Diedra Cole, so I want to give you your props. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Well, actually, they're calling me Grandmaster now.
Okay, even better, even bigger, Grandmaster Diedra Cole. Let me definitely give you your flowers.
I go by Sensei Diedra still, Sister Diedra, whatever. It's all me. And then, at the end of the day, I'm Diedra. That's what
take it all, man. You earned it. I'm gonna get things started off right. I know you're out there in Milwaukee. You're originally from Milwaukee.
I am born and raised. Yes, indeed.
All right. And now you're in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I live in Marietta, Georgia. I've been in Atlanta now for probably about 7 years.
So just explain to everybody, I know you've probably told the story before, how'd you get started in martial arts? What was your first kind of, intro to that world?
Sure, absolutely. So when I was about 8 or 9 years old, my brothers and I, we used to go, my mom used to take us often to the Oriental Theater downtown, and we would just, just like a lot of kids back then, we just sit there in the theater and watch the movies all afternoon, come home, try all the moves on each other, darn it, hurt each other, whatever. And so yeah, I had two brothers, one a little bit older and one a little bit younger, and I was right in the middle. I was a tomboy right in the middle of the two of them.
Nice.
So we were always fighting and all of that. And then one day Dad came home from work and he was like, hey, he says, a friend of mine is taking some real karate lessons. And he said, do y'all want to go? Yeah, Daddy, yeah. And so he took us to the YMCA. And at that time, it was back in the early 1970s. And the classes were being held by Mr. Warren, Judge Warren now. At the time, he had just recently gotten back home from Vietnam. His story is very similar to Sijo's story. Had gotten back, and a lot of other ones came back, started up the local dojo in the hood, and and all the brown kids, and men, women, children, all of us were trained right there together in one big open setting. And so he took us down, and that's pretty much where it started for me.
Nice, yeah, because I read a little bit about your original Sifu, Master Charles Warren, right? He was out there trained out in Okinawa. Yeah, very similar to Sijo Muhammad. Yeah, it's very interesting story.
We celebrated. I was just here in Milwaukee a few months ago, back in October, and we were celebrating his 50-year anniversary. Actually, it was 51 years because we had 50, planned, and then COVID hit, so we had to reschedule it. So we were here just a few months ago celebrating his 50 years plus as being a dojo head. He's got dojos all over the place, and just being a black man and doing that here. And he was actually, he started the first African-American dojo in the state of Wisconsin.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So when you started, and it's Kempo, correct?
Kempo Goju. I started training Kempo Goju. Mm-hmm.
Got you. And then how long, when you started, you stayed with him? How long did it take to get your first black belt, or how was that journey?
So I tested for the first time I tested for my black belt, I was 15 years old. And then right like in the middle of the test, he said that I had not matured enough yet mentally, he didn't think, and he wasn't ready to test anybody that young, and so shut it down. Told me come back, try again next year. You know?
I'm ready.
No, you ain't.
Look, my feelings was hurt, but then when I realized a year later of what all that test entailed, the mental fortitude of it, I mean, he really did me a favor by letting me prepare one more year. So just maybe about 2 weeks after my 16th birthday, went up north to what we call a gaishuku, which is like a Japanese outing.
Yes.
We do it every year. That's where we do, the testing. So we go somewhere up in the middle of nowhere in the woods, no matter what the element is, and we train for like 3 days. And then on that, so we get up on a Friday and go down Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday. And on Saturday is when, Saturday morning, like probably like 5 or 6 a.m. is when, when the heat is on. We have to get up and run a mile under a certain amount of time and do all this other kind of stuff and go over all the, the history of the school and all that. But the last part of the test was to fight all of the other dons that were already black belts. And they all happened to be male. I was the first female to complete and complete that test. So when I think they whipped my butt. Wow. And I was like, oh my God. But it was like going through that helped me so much in life that I can go through something like that. Then it's been, pretty much anything that come my way, I'm able to handle it.
Right, like a rite of passage. I'm sure that strengthened you, right? And then, so speaking of more of like on the women's side, were there other women martial arts artists that you looked up to, or that you saw in the movies, or just that was just all you when you first started out? When I first started out, no, there were not very many women. When I first started out from just the movies, it was just like there was even no representation as far as black folks. When I first, was through the film. But when I went to the dojo and I saw, my instructor and all the people in the class that looked just like me, I mean, it was like a, eye-opening thing. And there were a few adult women in the class. But, they kind of like, along the way, they just kind of, I think 2 of them had gotten to black belt, but they got the black belts like at a tournament, or they didn't go through the whole. They hadn't even implemented that system yet. Got it. They didn't go through the process.
they kind of faded away.
They faded away. Yeah.
They faded away, but there were a few that would come in, and they would be very talented women, but for whatever reason, they just didn't hang in there. Now, when I started competing in tournaments I started competing as a child, but once I started competing in the black belt division as a 16-year-old, I was in the black belt female division, and of course, then I very much idolized Linda Denley.
Yes.
Very much idolized.
Awesome.
Her. At the time, I don't know. She used to compete a lot against Lady Kung Fu, Arlene Lemus. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, I used to compete against Arlene all the time in Chicago because Arlene was from Chicago, and most of my tournaments that I would compete in were in Chicago, and that was always my toughest competition in Chicago. So we'd go back and forth. She beat me sometimes, I beat her, and then to watch her go on and win the 88 Olympics and win the gold medal, it was like, wow, this is somebody who I, grew up,
competing against.
Fighting, So, but yeah, Linda Denley was somebody who I very much,
oh man, it's like, and shout out to Linda Denley. I'm trying to get her on the show as well. So
she is the bomb.com. Let me tell you a quick story. So like probably when I was about maybe, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 20, somewhere around there. I flew out to, it was my very first flight that I had ever taken, and I wanted to go and compete in the Capitol Classics. And at the time, it was Dennis Brown and Tyra Cassell was giving that tournament together. It was like in 1987 is when it was.
Yes, sir.
So I flew out there by myself, and I did very well. I won the women's black belt division, the middleweight division. I had, fought against Helen Chung, beat her, and I was just like, the people were looking like, who is this? Because they, they didn't see me out in that area, right?
Right, because you're not from there, right?
Not from there. So then the nighttime finals, guess who I had to fight against? And I was just so, I was already defeated before I even stepped in that ring, because it was like, Hell no. You know what I mean? This is Linda Denley. You know what I'm saying?
You're about to say Linda Denley stepped in the ring with you?
Exactly.
Wow.
But she's always been so respectful, and she's always, she was just always just so cool or whatever. So she didn't try to take my head off or anything like that. I had so much respect for her that I was just kind of like, I was mentally already.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God. It's like going up against like Ron Van Cleef or somebody like, okay, just don't have to too much brother, right?
I've always had mad respect for that queen.
That's an amazing story. Since you brought it up, I was going to ask you about your kind of tournament circuit, your tournament run. What were some of your favorite things to compete in? Maybe some kind of favorite weapons and stuff?
Sure. Well, mostly when I first started competing, I started in the Pee Wee division actually.
Oh wow.
I started in the Pee Wee division, and it was boys and girls mixing it up together. They weren't separating us yet.
Wasn't different divisions. Okay.
And but I didn't really start getting into anything as far as that was just sparring. That's all that I wanted to do really. Gotcha. And then probably by the time I was maybe in my maybe late 20s is when I really, or maybe mid to late 20s is when I really started gravitating to the bow. Oh, that's my favorite weapon. Now I'm really enjoying the blades here lately, the knives and things like that. But the bow has always been, there's just something special about the bow I've always felt a connection to. So that's my favorite.
So you're just putting it out there. Don't mess with Sister Diedra, man.
I'm harmless.
Yeah, right. Silent but deadly. I know the type. About
the Geminis. I got my little side over here.
The other side. It's like saying, what did Prince say? I got two sides and we're both friends.
I got two sides and they're both friends.
And by the way, fellow Gemini right here too. So
so you understand.
See, so we'll back it up just a little bit. As far as like your schooling, where you went to school, because I know you had a career in law enforcement. But when you first started, like your schooling, was that originally your intent? You always wanted to get into law enforcement, or yeah?
Well, see what happened with the law enforcement. Okay, so my instructor, Mr. Warren, was in law enforcement. Okay. So he was somebody who he was a great mentor for me and for a lot of other people. And so just watching him, in his day to day and how he handled the work in the dojo and the whole balancing and all that or whatever. I just kind of always admired him for what he did. And I liked reading those Nancy Drew. I'm really dating myself now. But those Nancy Drew and Hardy Boy mysteries.
Hardy Boys, yeah.
So
I remember too.
I would enjoy reading those mysteries, and then, but I didn't set out to become a police officer or a police detective, and that just kind of happened where I went to college after high school. It really wasn't my thing at the time, though. I did like a semester at the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
It was even colder there.
Yeah.
Wishing that I had tried a HBCU. I did, but my children, they both ended up doing HBCU, so I was happy.
That's awesome.
But yes, I went there for a year, and then I just it just wasn't my thing, So, but I always continued training, fighting in tournaments. I just love karate. I would eat, sleep, drink, breathe. That was just my thing. It was just the dojo. That was all I was really focused on. Gotcha. And so then I ended up at 22, I think I was. I had my son, and kind of went through some hard times. Just trying to figure out where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. Even, to the point where, things had gotten really hard. I mean, I was a single parent. I was, on government assistance and just trying to figure it all out. And then, I was working a job, and then I heard that they were hiring at the police department. I thought, let me go down here and just take the test. Okay. And so that's kind of how that thing, the door just kind of opened from there. And then, I was able to move up the ranks, fairly quickly. Within 5 years, I became a detective because I knew the street cop and the beat cop thing, whatever. That was okay. But I had 2 children, and Milwaukee was a rough place,
Right.
Yeah. So I was just like, let me try. So I took the promotion exam to become a detective. I did pretty good on there.
They're promoting you.
And then I got assigned to many different divisions. And while I was a police officer too, I started a karate program through the PAL program, the Police Athletic League.
Yes.
So I was teaching children martial arts on my days off and things like that. So I really enjoyed that. But I became a police detective and did property crimes. I did white collar crimes, but most of my time as a detective, I did working violent crimes.
Right. I read that. So it's safe to say it's not as glamorous as Law and Order makes it look like.
No, we don't solve everything in 24 hours for sure.
There's no imaginary dung and you switch to the next scene and case closed.
No, some of those things, unfortunately, never get solved. But then, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of,
Gotcha. Yeah. No. I read that and it was very interesting to me. And things kind of go hand in hand. And I know you're really big into women's empowerment and all that. And I know kind of after seeing a lot of those violent crimes with women, they kind of probably get you in that run. So talk to me a little bit like when you started teaching, what was that transition like? And did you always want to teach or that was just a natural thing?
Well, I've always loved learning and then sharing what I learned, And so when I was probably about maybe 14 or 15 is when I first, dabbled in teaching and showing other students, like that were coming up, because as a 14-year-old, I was a brown belt senpai. And so we do some teaching. And I remember, I can remember a time where I was, getting a little frustrated and my instructor pulled me to the side. He was like, wait, let me tell you something. He said, as much as I've had to work with you, I don't want to ever see you be frustrated with anybody. Because if you can learn anybody.
I know that's right. Wow.
Yeah, I was like, okay, checkmate.
Right.
But as I got older, I always have loved children.
Yes.
And children have always gravitated to me. So I really love teaching children, the principles and the basic fundamentals of martial arts and about, especially about self-discipline and control and, all the things that you need to learn to be productive and to be okay in life. And I think that, when you get them at a young age and you can teach them like that, and then that kind of turned into, well, my next love, I guess, would be, like you said, women's empowerment. And because I have seen women victimized and I was a victim of, crime myself. Right. And because I can, it was so relatable for me. And then to see what is the most fulfilling thing for me is to see a woman come in and think, oh, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And then to watch her just, build that confidence up in herself and then you know what I mean? That's just, I just love that feeling, you know what I mean? And then they just like, oh, I could do it, and so then now me and my sister, great Grandmaster Diedra, we both had, pretty much the same, I guess the same quest and the same journey, for helping, to empower women. And so now we've come together and we're doing our Boldly Be You movement. Yeah. And then another reason that I'm so, compelled to help women is because I believe, just like Malcolm X is one of my, favorite people too,
Oh, mine too.
Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you?
Oh, see,
you know what I'm saying?
By any means necessary. Talk it.
Love, honor, and respect the Black woman, because we are still, even now, the least respected and protected, of people on the planet, period.
Yes,
we disrespect ourselves. Other people disrespect us. And it's just like, if I can just make a little impact in that and living that and teaching that, then, I'll feel like I've done something, because that's just a major thing to me. It's, teaching, people to how important it is to stand your ground. You got to stand for something, and we are the original Eve. So it's like, how can we all come from the very thing that we are, most disrespect. It's just, it blows my mind, so I advocate for that whenever I get an opportunity to, and I always will.
No, and I love that. But you're right. It's one of the craziest contradictions. It's like definitely respect for the Black woman above all. As we mentioned before, Sijo Muhammad, such an amazing guy. How did you move over and start training with him? And what was that all like? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay, so probably been about maybe 6 years ago now. I have a good friend of mine. Well, she called me one day and she said, hey, we got a grandmaster staying at our house. And I said, who? Now I've always loved Steve Muhammad because, from Enter the Dragon and all that.
Yeah.
And then all that. And I had came across I had ran into one of his other students who was here in Milwaukee doing a seminar once, and I told him that I was going to be, relocating to Atlanta. And he said, well, when you get there, because he was living out in LA, Sijo Culpepper. He said, when you get to Atlanta, give him a call and let him know that I sent you. And I'm like, okay, cool. But that never, it just never happened. It never worked out for me like that. And then some years later, my friend called me up and she's like, I got a grandmaster staying at my house. And I was like, who? And she said, her name is Sister Rita, and she's friends with my roommate, da 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 da. And I said, put her on the phone. And so she got on the phone and we just started, it just was
clicking.
It was one love from there.
Nice.
And so that very next day, because she was in town to do a seminar, actually, that very next day I went to her workshop, and Sijo was there. He came, and then him and I just, we just bonded immediately, and he's one of my very best friends, but we just clicked, and so I started training with him then. Yeah.
And I love that. So so tell me, what do you think are like the differences training with him versus say other, like instructors or whatever? What's his style like?
So what was the thing that made it a really good transition for me and him? Him and I both say this is because of we both have basically the same base.
Okay, foundation, yeah.
The same foundation. He studied Kempo before, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I studied Kempo, he studied Goju, I studied Goju. So he always says, Mr. Warren gave you such a great foundation that it was easy for me to train you and work with you because I came in with a solid foundation in the same thing that he had a foundation in. So that was, an advantage for me, but it's so cool working with him. I mean, he's a great instructor, and, sometimes now we joke and laugh a lot, but when sometimes in class, I mean, he'll go there with you too, though. You know what I mean? He'll get on your case, and you'll be like, when I first started training, I'm like, I don't think he liked me, but it's like when he on your case like that, it's like, yeah, he sees something in you, and he's a great teacher. He loves to teach. I mean, he gets up. I think he lives to teach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can feel the passion, in what he does, and he's so humble. And he's such a unique individual. I've never met anybody like him before, because the man could have one of those big, Grand Poobah type egos like some of these other people, but he is so not that. And I know you know that because you're
so humble. Yes, I love that about him. What ranking did you get up to with Master Muhammad?
So last year he promoted me to 8th Dan.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, he promoted me to 8th Dan last year. I believe it was last year in October.
Oh, nice, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was so unexpected. I didn't have any idea that it was going to happen. So, and I'm just like, wow. So he was like, oh yeah, you deserve this. I mean, you've been doing this for 47 years now.
Yeah, you put your time in, and I really respect that. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. Just talking about glimpses of the warrior within your book. Tell me about being an author. It's a completely different art, but I know everything kind of is connected a bit. Yeah, how was that?
Sure. Okay, and so and with writing that book, basically, God gave me the vision that I needed to share some of my experiences, because a lot of times you can look at a person and judge them and think, their life has just been, gravy or this, but you just don't have any idea because, we don't always look like what we've experienced and what we've been through, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so with the glimpses of the warrior within, my journey of discovering I am enough, there have been times in my life where I just didn't feel like I was enough, where I felt like, you know how a lot of times we always, looking here and there, looking other places for validation or to feel, our, self-worth or whatever. But in actuality, everything that we need is already on the inside of us, that conception. We just don't always know it, right?
Yes.
And so what I did with that book is I was, as I journeyed through, through life, I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and share some of my story, not all of it, but some of it, glimpses of it, into how everything that I went through, I've always leaned into my martial arts training to be able to, just to get over humps and to be able to, what I mean, just to, as my GPS, like I told you about that test that I did at 16.
Yes,
if I can do this, I can get through that. Yeah,
it's
so,
connected. Yeah, that's like how you get through challenges. Absolutely.
Exactly. So that's kind of what I did. That's what the book was about, how I used martial arts, to help me basically put me on my path to self-discovery, and to now I'm on this journey of, helping other people. And like Muhammad Ali says, our rent here on earth is like, paying for what we have, right? I mean, that's what we have to do. Otherwise, what was it all for?
Exactly.
hospitalize a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading the book. I know you sent me a copy. Can't wait to get it.
Thank you so much for your support, and I can't wait to hear what your take is on it. So please let me know.
Of course. I mean, I'm just like, probably like you, I love to learn. So I love reading about people's journeys and individuals, especially martial artists, fellow martial artists. I'm always intrigued by stuff. So talk to me a little DYC Martial Arts. When did you started that as your own, school and everything?
I did. So DYC, that's my initials, Diedra Cole.
Nice.
And so what I just wanted to, I've always been an out the box person. You know how we are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be the one coming to class, with the gi top that didn't match.
Right. Got your own thing, right? I feel you. I know.
So I said, well, you know what? I'll just do DYC, and then it'll be a blend of, my traditional martial arts along with, the things that I feel that I need to share with people, with women, with anybody that I'm teaching, but in particular with women, and that's from, and I've trained in other styles. I've trained Shorin-Ryu. I trained under Hanshi Larry Tankson, where I got a second done under him, probably like back in maybe like 1985 or something like that. So I've trained in some other styles, and I just kind of just take the things that gravitate most to me that I feel like, and just kind of make them my own. And, so then I just felt DYC needed to be, just needed to be me. It's my expression of what martial arts is to me. And that's kind of what I did probably, I don't know, maybe several years ago, but I just recently incorporated it, very recently. But I've been using that name and doing business as DYC for probably, I don't know, maybe about 8-9 years now.
Okay, so you're teaching your own classes and everything? You got your own schedule?
Well, not right now. Now, I was prior to the pandemic, I had, some students that I was teaching that, and what my thing is with DYC, I wanted to do it in the sense where it's more mobile.
Okay.
So what I would do is I would go to the location or have, we come, I would go to, churches or different places like that, women's groups, things like that. And I still do that. And, or I have, some, private students come to my home and we train outside in my garden and that kind of thing. But mine is not a brick and mortar. Mine is more mobile on the go, with, that kind of thing. And that works better for me.
Yeah, and especially with the pandemic, it's almost like we all had to reinvent ourselves a little bit and how to do business better. And I love that whole idea too, going to people and showing them. So yeah, talk to me, because I know you do a lot of wellness seminars, and you just did your women's empowerment one, your Glimpses of Warrior Within seminar. So how did that whole day go, and how did that all come out? Man. Yeah, it was amazing. And so what that is basically, again, it's martial arts and self-defense, martial science and all that, but it's so much more to it, because we are so much more than just that. I want women to learn how to defend themselves, but at the same time, I want women to be whole, spirit, mind, and body. Initially, we were like mind, body, spirit, but I'm like, sis, no, I think we got to do that backwards, because first of all, it's the spirit that tells the mind, right? The spirit Spirit always knows first. Before whether we comply or not, we always get that nudging, knowing the spirit is always far more advanced than what we are in our natural sense, right? Yes. And so it's the spirit that tells the mind, and then the body follows. So now we're doing spirit, mind, body, but we want to make sure that we are giving to these women that we get the opportunity or the blessing to come in front of and help them with different things. So we bring other experts in to talk about like trauma and healing and sexual abuse and all the things that we have all experienced. Me and both Sister Rita have both experienced. And so we want to bring in professionals to just, do the healing therapy and just to have it all together in one like setting. You know what I mean? So people leave feeling, not just feeling empowered, like, I can fight and I can, defend myself and get away, but also feeling better mentally and spiritually and just as a whole, Yeah. Well, congratulations on that.
And her and I, we just like, when we first, I called her up one day and I was like, sis, I said, I have this idea. And I said, because I kept hearing it in my spirit, trust the process. And she was like, wait a minute. And so she said, I just got done talking to, DJ, that's her husband, about, trusting the process or whatever. And so before I could even tell her what the whole idea was, she was like, I'm in. And so it was just like, and we just we had talked about it, some years ago about doing some workshops together, because she does WOWC, which is Women of Warrior Consciousness, and mine is DYC, but we kind of like, we've been, on the same, the basis of our journey has been the same. We may have different paths, but we pretty much, you know, right there together. And she's a little older than I am. So I always refer to her as my big sister, and you know, and I just love her. We just like really click. Our spirits are so aligned that, you know, I know for sure that, you know, we got this thing where, you know, it's a mandate from, you know, from the Creator that we have to do.
Got you.
Yeah.
And I love that. Congratulations again on that. I know you're probably going to try to transition and do more of those.
We got another one coming up too in June. So we're going to do June 10th through 12th. We're going to do the Boldly Be You workshop retreat. So we're going to do the same concept, but then we're going to also have a retreat part of it too, where we're going to, you know, do some self-care, like after we're done training, you know, we're going to do the massages and the, you know, the whole.
Nice.
The only thing that seems to help my back. Oh, my.
Is that going to be in Georgia also?
It's going to be in Georgia.
Okay, okay. Awesome.
But we are open to coming and doing the workshop, you know, in other places too. We're setting it up so that we can go, you know, from state to state. So we don't have to just be like in the state of Georgia. We can take it because it's needed everywhere, you know?
Yeah. So tell the people if they do want to train, you know, and get involved with you, Sister Diedra, how do they get in touch with you if you want to train with you or reach out to you?
Sure, and I do online Zoom classes, so you can reach me at, my email is DYC Martial Arts, DYCMartialArts@gmail.com. That's the best email to reach me at. But you also can find me on Facebook as Diedra Cole, and also on YouTube. Diedra Y. Cole is my YouTube channel, and I'm on LinkedIn. So, you know, wherever they get, I'm out there. I'm trying to get, you know, more into the social media thing.
Yeah,
you know, hire me some help because that can take up your whole day.
Oh man, tell me about it. Tell me about it. And then I also read you do a podcast too, right?
Do a podcast. That's right.
Tell me about it.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
And the podcast is Glimpses of the Warrior Within Martial Arts Podcast, and basically that is an extension of the book. So what I wanted to do with the podcast, I feel like, you know, it was dropped in my spirit that you guys said, okay, well, you got this book now, which is, you know, a great format. Call it the same thing, basically Glimpses of the Warrior Within, but now bring in other warriors because I know so many of them and highlight their stories. Let them talk about their journey and, you know, how they got to where they are and what style they studied and what, you know, what their, you know, mastery is and what their passion is. And so it started off like that, just highlighting, you know, other people like what you're doing, you know, and just using the book title, because I mean, there's so many of us warriors out there, you know, all shades, but I have this, I guess I have an endearment for, you know, for us, because we don't get it unless we give it to, unless we create it.
I'm on the same page.
Generally, I do new interviews on Wednesdays.
All right, well, Sister Diedra Cole, Grandmaster Diedra Cole, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is Grandmaster Diedra Cole, and thank you so much for watching Kung Fu Chronicles with my brother Kwazi. Enjoy.